and welcome to the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education regular meeting for Wednesday, May 26th, 2021. Has this meeting been properly noticed?
Yes, it has.
Would you please call the roll?
Carlin?
Here.
Herzog?
Here.
Carnes?
Here.
Szilagyi?
Here.
Wright?
Here.
Wyman? Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our next order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll ask Dr. Dunlop to get started.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next order of business is board and administrative reports. Mr. Peschel is not able to be here this evening. However, I would like, on his behalf, to extend a thank you to the stakeholder group members who met with the 3 superintendent candidates on Monday, along with West High staff and students who provided a building tour. We are very grateful for your assistance. It has been announced that the district will announce the name of the new superintendent by Friday of this week. So watch your media sources and your IC, and you will have the up-to-date information. With that, we'll move on to the superintendent's report, both good news and calendar.
All right, thank you. So Joseph, a junior at Oshkosh North, was recently awarded a $3,500 scholarship to attend a 9-day National Student Leadership Conference at UCLA. He will be involved in the medical and healthcare program, so congratulations, Joseph. Carl Traeger Elementary celebrated the end of its Kids Heart Challenge with 9 staff members getting a pie in the face. Well, that looks like fun. This year, the school raised over $12,000 for the American Heart Association. Well done. Communities at Oshkosh North was once again involved in National Bike to Work Day here in Oshkosh. The students hosted bike stations throughout Oshkosh, providing bikers with snacks, water, and encouragement. 2 Oshkosh West senior girls soccer players signed letters of intent to play college soccer next fall. McKenna signed with UW La Crosse and Reese signed with Edgewood College. The West cross-country team also had some recent successes. The team finished 7th at the state meet, and freshman Braylee Jodarski placed 15th individually, and senior John Thill placed 8th overall. The Oshkosh West class of 1963 raised funds during their 50th class reunion several years ago to start an endowment fund for Oshkosh West. Each year the class selects different departments to make a donation to. This year the math department and world language department were each given $1,000 to use for next school year. Josh Brost, a graduating senior at UW Oshkosh, recently gifted our special education department with over $1,000 in school supplies. The donation was part of his Moving the Needle marketing capstone project aimed at giving back to the community. With a passion for special education, Josh focused his efforts on doing something that would help students with disabilities. Well done. 3 OASD special education staff members were recently recognized by the Wisconsin Council of Administrators for Special Services for their exceptional support for students. Chris Steinhelber and Patty Kimball, paraprofessionals at Oshkosh West, were named Outstanding Paraprofessionals, and Kelly Skifstad, our Special Education Program Coordinator, was named an Outstanding Support Staff Member. Congratulations, everyone. As previously announced, the Oshkosh Area School District will honor the class of 2021 during in-person graduation ceremonies next week, Monday and Wednesday at the Menominee Nation Arena. The entire Oshkosh community is invited and encouraged to experience the graduation ceremonies virtually and join together to celebrate the OSD's class of 2021. The link to view the live stream is available on the district's homepage. And with that, I would also just mention we've sent out quite a few communications recently talking about the various protocol changes, et cetera. The fact that we are still continuing our current practice of requiring students, staff, and visitors to to wear face masks. This is based on CDC guidance, and we'll continue to do that. We have made some adjustments. We are maintaining established quarantine requirements with a 14-day minimum for students unless they're fully vaccinated, in which case we'll change that. No longer are we requiring desks, chairs, and tables to be cleaned or disinfected between class, so we've made some adjustments there. We are looking at adjusting protocols for summer school, just like many other districts that are looking at this, and I'm sure Mr. Kemmer will be talking a little bit about that in his report. But mask use will remain in place for all OASD summer school participants. It's important to understand that administration is continuing to review the masking guidelines, and we will provide updates as needed. The other, in terms of expectations and planning for 21-22, we are planning for fully in-person pre-K-12. We are also planning for our K-12 virtual school option, which is our e-academy, which is going very well. The face covering requirement and contact tracing or quarantine procedures will be reviewed, and that information is going to be available on our website. A web page for planning for the 21-22 school year has been created. It's available from the district's homepage under the Families menu. So we'll continue to share updates throughout the summer months as more information becomes available. And last but not least, a little bit of a walk-in item that I think was pretty cool. I had the advantage of going to Washington Elementary today. They are running the students are asking curious questions. So I know the fire department's been out there. I know various members of staff have been out there answering these questions. Well, one of the questions came from a fourth grader asking how much does it cost to build a school? So I went out there and kind of dusted off and polished up some of our referendum information. I said, I'll do you one better. I'll show you how much it costs to build 2 schools. So we sat down and we showed them the same information that you had been provided and did a little bit of a walkthrough of the new building with them. They had some of the most amazing questions. But what really stuck out the most was when they realized that only 20% of Oshkosh residents have kids in school. That means 80% do not. And yet a majority of our residents felt that they were worth it to spend over $88 million building 2 new schools for them. It is not often that a group of 4th and 5th graders are quiet. You know, they're always very curious and very energetic. That kept them all silent for several minutes. So I think it meant a lot to them, and it was really cool to be able to share that with them. So I have to tell you, as much as I like presenting to all you people, I certainly like presenting to 4th and 5th graders more. They're just a lot more fun. So had a great time, and it was really, really fun to do. So
Awesome.
Appreciated that opportunity. And that is the superintendent's good news report.
Thank you, Dr. Gudlock. Next, we'll move on to District Administrator Supplemental Reports. And Mr. Kemmer has become a mainstay at these meetings, giving us an update on COVID.
Yes. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I'm going to begin my report tonight like I do every board meeting and just talk about the Winnebago County Weekly Data Summary. Really good news from the data summary that we received this past week. That covered a time period from May 5th to May 18th. And each board meeting, when I go over the report, the key indicator that I touch on is the case rate. And that's the case rate for the Oshkosh Area School District geographical boundary. So the health department always puts out that information for each school district in addition to the data for the county. So for the first time since these reports started coming out, the Oshkosh Area School District boundary had a burden rate in the moderate category. We're at 47.3, which is the lowest that it's been, which is really good news. It just means that the number of positive cases in our area have continued to decrease dramatically. So in terms of our student population, we also calculate the case rate, and we look at different grade levels. And that includes the K2 grade level, 3-5 grade level, 6 through 8 grade level, and 9 through 12 grade level. So for that same time period, both the 3 through 5 grade level and the 9 through 12 grade level maintained a burden status in the high category. So there are still some cases in those 2 age ranges. And then the K through 2 grade level and 6 through 8 grade level were in the low category. Each grade level had 0 cases in that time period. So again, we continue to see a downward trajectory in the number of student cases that we have throughout the district, which is definitely a good sign. So that's led to us to make some minor changes to our summer school guidelines, as Dr. Gunlock mentioned. The most significant change that we're making for summer school is that students who are close contacts, or staff who are close contacts to someone who has tested positive, that close contact occurs in school, they no longer have to quarantine unless they start to experience symptoms. And we made that change for 3 reasons. The first reason is that throughout the course of the school year, we've come to realize that the mitigation strategies that we've used as a district have been highly successful. We've seen very, very few cases of transmission occurring within our school district, and virtually no transmission when it involves 2 individuals who are wearing masks and following other mitigation strategies that have been established. So that was really the biggest justification. In addition to that, we have fewer students present in summer school in our buildings. So with that, there is more opportunity to spread out throughout the building and less of a chance of being that close contact to begin with. The second reason we made that change is because the case rate in our area continues to drop, as was reflected in the most recent county report. But along with that, more students are eligible to be vaccinated. So the 12 and up age group is now eligible. So as more people in our community continue to get vaccinated and that case rate continues to go down, there's going to be more opportunities to make similar changes. And the third reason we decided to go that route is because we have far fewer health staff working during the summer months, including summer school. And the most time-consuming part of their role throughout the pandemic has been contact tracing. So with the fewer health staff available, it would be a much larger burden on them to continue to contact trace every close contact that comes up in the district. So for those reasons, we did make that change, but as Dr. Gunlock mentioned, we are going to maintain all other COVID protocols, including masks for both students and staff in our summer school buildings. And that's one thing we will take a look at over summer as we're developing our protocols for next school year. In terms of PPE, we continue to have ample supply at the district level, and we distribute it to schools as the need arises. That's something we'll continue to do throughout summer school. We'll take inventory this summer and see what we need going into next year in order to meet whatever protocols are established at that point. On the vaccine front, the district partnered with the Winnebago County Health Department to run 2 vaccination clinics. The first one took place at Oshkosh West this past Thursday. We had about 145 people show up to be vaccinated, and that's the 145 people received the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine. Then we had an additional 24 adults who came to receive the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So pretty decent turnout. The second shots of the Pfizer vaccine will be available to those who received their first dose on Thursday, June 10th. So that will also be at West High School for those individuals. And then yesterday, we had a vaccination clinic at North High School, and we ended up having about 95 people show up to be vaccinated with either the Pfizer or the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So those second doses for those who had the Pfizer vaccine will take place on Tuesday, June 15th, also at North High School. And then finally, our district dashboard continues to track the number of active cases and cumulative cases and quarantines that we've had throughout the school year. As of today, we currently have 4 active cases of COVID-19 in our district. 3 of those cases are students, 1 is a staff member, and those are at 3 different schools. And throughout the course of the year, the cumulative totals for active cases were 670. And then in terms of quarantines, we had 10,068 as of today. So that concludes my report.
Any questions for Mr. Kemmer? Thank you very much. Are there any board committee chairs who have reports this evening? I have a very brief one. As the chair of the Facilities and Finance Committee, we met on Thursday, May 20th. One of the first things we discussed was, it's on the agenda tonight, to ask the board to consider a new social studies coordinator position starting in the fall of this year to serve students in grades K-8. There have been a lot of changes in social studies education, and it's felt that we need someone to help coordinate that district-wide. Mr. Helmbrecht, Director of Recreation, proposed an increase in rental fees for gyms, pools, outdoor athletic facilities, and commonly used spaces Monday to Friday after 6 o'clock and on Saturdays and Sundays. The committee agreed to move forward with the fee structure as long as the fees do not create inequities for individuals to be able to participate in sports. We also discussed staff support makeup hours. In March of 2020, when everything shut down, the decision was made to continue to pay our support staff, but they would have to make up the hours they were paid in advance by the end of June of this year. There are only 3% of staff members who have not started making up their time, and they are being assisted in those hours on an individual basis. Mr. Fox gave us an update on the variety of summer projects happening throughout the district. He highlighted referendum projects where they are in process, and it's always good to know when you have projects, and this is certainly true from Mr. Fox's report, that those referendum projects are coming in at or below budget, so that's always a good sign. Mr. Nehans reported that our budget is running on track, and the end of the budget year would be June 30th. Mr. Nehans also recommended that for the next couple of years we funnel some of our funds into the fund balance, which would increase its total, and also help the district get lower interest rates when our bonds is up for renewal. The next meeting of Facilities and Finance will be on Thursday, June 17th at 8:30 in the morning. That is that committee report. Mrs. Szilagyi had asked for some time as chair of the Policy and Governance Committee regarding Board Policy 0166, which deals with board agendas. She's looking for some input, I believe, from board members on some potential changes in that policy, which would then come back to the board for a vote.
Yes, so last week is a future agenda item, or not last week, 2 weeks ago, it is a future agenda item. It was requested that we look at how we give these committee chair reports, and so I went home and I looked at the consent agenda, and it is noted in both months of the meetings that we would give these reports. And I also looked at the committee, I'll pull up those policies right now. I also looked at the committee policies, and they say right in them that the chairperson should regularly report to the board and the public regarding findings and recommendations of the committee. So I just wanted to have this discussion to see if that means then we're wanting to move away from that in order to fulfill that future agenda meeting, or if we feel comfortable keeping it the way it is, because I believe it was Dr. Herzog that pointed out that we do it this way because it's in our policy.
Yeah.
So I double checked it, and it's true that it is in our policy, and that's why we do it this way. So in order to change it, we would have to change the policy. So that's why I asked to have this discussion.
When was the date of the policy? I'm just thinking that maybe since that time, technology is playing a greater role in accessibility to the information to the board and the public prior to the meeting.
Yeah, I know that the policy that specifically is noted here, 0166, we looked at that as recently as probably 4 months ago.
September 2020.
Yeah, and we didn't update it. We also re-looked at it about 4 months ago, and we did not make an update. That's correct. I do not, off the top of my head, know the last time that the
That's
committee
fine.
ones were updated.
I just, for us to regurgitate the same information that the public can get readily and board members can get prior to the meeting seems repetitive.
Yeah.
And if I may,
Yeah.
the longer the meetings go, the less interested the public becomes.
Mhm.
And so committee report information that is deemed worthy to come to the board comes to the board in resolution anyways. So my opinion is let's be as efficient and as effective as we can
Yeah.
in committee reports so we can move on.
So one of my thoughts, sorry, were you done?
Oh, no, I'm done.
Because that was, one of my thoughts was, I liked that it said that we need to bring it to the public regularly, and I thought, because if we vote on it, that's how it's brought to the public. And I wondered if we prefer bringing it to the public as a summary that we do really quick in these reports, and then not, remember when he gave us, the gentleman that did the legal counsel gave us the Robert's Rules
Mr. Sorensen.
training? He said we do not actually have to read it as the consent agenda. And I made sure that that was consistent with our policy, and that's correct. We do not have to read the long list, so I wondered if we had a preference of giving a short summary and then taking out the long reading of the list. I know that the short summary would be a little longer than the reading of the list, but it also gives a little more clarity for the sake of transparency.
Yeah.
That was kind of one direction I wondered about.
Personally, I think that we should do whatever's as quick and efficient as possible so that we can spend the majority of our time talking in front of the community while the community's still paying attention on real agenda items that we're going
Right,
to vote on.
because our workshop is usually at the end, and
Yeah.
I totally understand where you're coming from. All right.
I would be in favor of shortening them, like putting a 3-minute time limit on them, because what do we
Yeah.
usually have, like 1 or 2 a meeting tops, usually, right? You don't have committee reports every meeting, right? So if we had 2, we're talking in 3-minute limit, we're talking 6 minutes. So I would be in favor of that, but I do think it's important for us to communicate, because it's kind of like we're pushing the information out when we give those reports, and the people, they can go and find it, but they might hear something that they hadn't thought about, and it's just for transparency's sake. And I think it's good practice to inform the public of what's happening in the committees. And you're absolutely right. I do agree that we don't need to, spend a lot of time reading all of the minutes, but a short summary, I think, would be really valuable, just in case people don't know, like, hey, what's going on in committee? So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Obviously, the committees are open for everyone, so I think it's nice to
Yeah.
remind everyone that
Mhm.
that is open to the public and anybody can be there. I don't have a strong feeling either way. I do like the idea, though, of still reading them. If we shorten it, I'd go further. I'd go to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's
I could
give it a
live with that,
paragraph, and let's just crank it out. I do like the idea of having it still out there, but a lot less time with it.
Yeah, maybe just like what we're voting on, not all the details, like
Yeah.
this is what we'll vote on next week. Because often it's, we give a report of what will be voted on at a future meeting.
Well, the
So
other
it-
thing we could do is leave it to the committee chair to say, listen, it's your turn for a report. Is there anything you would like to share? And then you could just share 2 or 3 high-level things that we're talking about,
Yeah.
and have it be really quick.
So at the last education meeting, it was, this curriculum is going to be coming up for renewal, and then now it's on this consent
Yes.
agenda, right?
Mhm.
So in that situation, I think that would be the perfect place where you take a minute or 2 and just say, it's gonna be on the next one. It's $400,000, FYI, this is what it is and why it is, and maybe real fast with it. But I agree, maybe if there's nothing coming up that's going to be a votable item, maybe we skip it.
Yeah,
Leave it to the chair.
Leave it to, and I'd be okay with that, but let's
Right.
really try to, let's do it in 1 or 2 minutes.
And that is
Let's
how-
move it along.
Mhm.
and that is how this came up, that when it's just small changes, don't talk about them, and I agree with that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, so I think that gives me some direction. So if any of you or anyone in the public listening wants to come to that policy meeting, it will be, I think it's June 8th at 8:30 in the morning. And we'll further this discussion. All right. Thank you.
There was one other topic that I believe came up in that meeting relative to agendas, and that was potentially putting under the workshops a time frame or time limit.
Mm,
So that, and I know staff administrators from this central office were in the meeting,
Mhm.
and they felt too that if they had some direction on how much information the board was interested in, that would be helpful to them.
Yes.
Did we want a very broad
Right.
overview, or did we want to get more deeply into the weeds? For example, with the recent report on the potential new middle school building, people seem to appreciate the amount of detail that was provided in that meeting. But in another venue, they might welcome a much shorter time. So it helps to communicate to staff
Yeah.
how much effort and how much detail they need to provide, because they have a wealth of information. So it's
Mhm.
usually a matter of funneling it down, not building it up to fill some
Right.
time frame.
Yeah, and would we like to do the same thing with the staff reports, to also give a time limit on, or not limit,
Doctor?
but like a
Targets, maybe?
targets, that's a better
That's a
word.
good word.
For staff reports, so.
Dr. Herzog, did
Yes.
help me with my memory, did Mr. Knightsky recommend like a time limit? Didn't he say that he limits or he suggests like no more than 10 or 20 minutes for something? And
I think that's generally true.
I can't remember if it was 10 or 20 though.
I believe what he said is efficient boards manage their meetings efficiently.
Mhm.
And they say, okay, you've got 3 minutes.
Mhm.
Get in the real stuff. You know? So.
Well, our workshops can't be,
True.
they have to be more than 3 minutes.
Well, true,
but
yes, that's a different scenario.
We could put a time
But-
limit.
I
on
say
it.
we take it back to policy and Liz, you can
Yeah.
figure that one out.
I
Yeah.
do know we did that once with our staff reports, yeah. So
Yeah.
thanks for that reminder, Chris. Thank you. All right. I'm done.
Awesome.
So you have sufficient
Yes, I
direction?
do.
All right, very good. So we'll all look forward to that policy and governance meeting, and it is an open meeting. Any member of the public, any other board members are welcome to attend. It's always publicly noticed, and people are welcome. All right, then we'll move on to the non-agenda related public forum.
I don't believe we have that.
And we don't have anyone tonight who wishes to speak. All right, then moving on, we move on to the consent resolution agenda. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background material on each item or has discussed it at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. If a board member wants to discuss any item, it will be pulled out of the consent agenda and will be voted on separately. So I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Herzog,
Yes, aye.
Carnes,
Yes.
Szilagyi,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Wyman, Carlin.
Aye.
The ayes have it, resolution carries.
Thank you. Next agenda item is individually considered resolution. This was a change in procedure or process initiated by Mr. Peschel. He noted that commonly the personnel resolution related to retirements was pulled, and so felt that it was appropriate to list it as an individually considered resolution, which should also help with meeting efficiency. So the individually considered resolution tonight is resolution number 20. Be it resolved that the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education approve the retirement as filed with the Secretary to the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
This resolution addresses the retirement of a longtime staff member at Oshkosh North and Oshkosh West High Schools. Mr. Scott Morrison is seeking to retire in November of 2021. He's been with the district since 1998. His father before him was also a longtime teacher in the district. I believe he also served in both buildings. So after at least 40 years, this will be the first time that we do not have a Morrison from this family in the district. So I'd like to extend a sincere congratulations to Scott on his retirement and wish him a long, healthy, and exciting journey in this next phase of life. Any other comments, questions? I know he's educated a lot of good drivers in our student body. Please call the roll.
Carnes,
Aye.
Peschel, Szilagyi,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Wyman, Carlin,
Aye.
Herzog.
Aye.
Ayes have it, resolution carries.
Thank you. Are there any requests for future agenda items? Are there any announcements? I would like to make two brief announcements tonight. As I walk my dog every morning, and we walk by Emmeline Cook Elementary School, and we see the Mapleton dairy truck pull up with those milk cartons that the students use, it reminds me of the extraordinary efforts for student success that our students, their families, and our incredible staff have made this year on behalf of all of our students to ensure their success. And so I want to announce our gratitude and appreciation to every student, every parent, every staff member in this district who has gone above and beyond what their training and what their expectations when they chose to work for this school district has endured over these many months. It's been a marathon, and we truly appreciate everything that these individuals have done to ensure student success. So thank you. I also want to extend sincere congratulations to all of our seniors, those at Oshkosh West High School, Oshkosh North High School, those in the Riverside program, and those in Project Search. We are so proud of each and every one of you for all of your efforts over these 15 months to get to the point where you can say, I'm a graduate from the Oshkosh Area School District. We thank you for everything you've contributed during your years, whether it's in the music program, art, drama, athletics, Skills USA, the Wave Robotics, whatever it has been that has gotten you to this point to be called a graduate. So congratulations, and we wish you all the best as you finish your high school careers and move on to those next phases of life. Any other announcements? All right, then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Szilagyi.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Wyman. Aye. Carlin.
Aye.
Herzog.
Aye.
Kearns.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all very much.